We still got some few more people admitting in, so please bear with us for a few more minutes. One thing that we've done a little bit differently this time is the live that we are broadcasting the same Zoom meeting live on YouTube. So you can watch us on cqm.us/live if you'd like to participate in future meetings and watch us over there as we are doing the program. And but if you'd like to get the PDU and you'd like to participate in the discussion panel, then the best way to get to this meeting is through the registration from PMIGLC. And then once you're in there, make sure that you see the email that comes from the system, and you need to log in from Zoom. So whoever is here apparently has done it successfully. So, and we'd like this to be an interactive meeting. So hopefully after our presenters present their presentations, then we'd like you guys to participate in our discussions as well. So, okay. So I'm gonna present my screen. And we're gonna start in a few minutes. Should we start, Shalom?
Yes, I think we're ready.
We're ready? Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our CQM PMIGLC event for this quarter. As mentioned, we have this event every quarter for the construction industry, where project management from the construction industry get together to improve the quality of their work using the PMBOK framework and other innovative and new technologies and methodologies that are available in our industry. The people from other industries as well can use this thing. So this is a great opportunity for everybody to participate in these meetings and hear and listen about new topics that are trends in our industry. So today's topic is quality in project control, meaning that one of the major activities of our construction environment project management is doing project controls, and we want to improve the activity by introducing the few people from our industry that would be able to introduce us to the trends and new information available. So after this short introduction, we're going to have a discussion panel, and then we're going to have a little demo of how we use project control to do some weather and delay assessments and reporting. And hopefully after that, we can have the question and answer. So if you're not a part of the event, if you can please turn off your video feeds for now and have your microphones muted. And hopefully in the discussion panel, then you can turn your videos and mics on. So as discussed before, we see construction quality not into the quality control aspect, but in every aspect of the project. So to keep a good quality in our project, it could have different perspectives from the owner side, from the general contractor side, subcontractor side, testing and inspection, and so forth. So we're not just dealing with the Chapter 8 quality per se in PMBOK. We're dealing with everything that is related to giving a quality product to our client. So the problem assumption is that the scope management with time phase baseline through a construction resource plan, usually related to the project activities, are derived from a plan that is always generated first, part of our project management plan that we call in the PM box. And in collaborative teams, the CP, which is the construction plan, is communicated through a cost-loaded schedule. And the schedule serves as a vehicle for work structure decisions to be communicated from the GC to the subcontractor. As projects become more complex, the quality of this planning is diminished, and the requirement requires more resources, such as bigger project engineering department and more scheduling and control people to work on the project. And it's very expensive for many of the construction companies. So hopefully, with the solutions that we are going to introduce today, such as the last meeting that we had, and we introduced BIM models and how we can use BIM for coordination and stuff. We can show some new ways of doing scheduling and discussing the schedules and stuff. So our attendees, and especially companies that are interested in improving the way that they do their project control, can learn about the new topics and trends in our industry. So the guests that we have for you today are Brandon. He's from Barton Mello. He's going to give us the general contracting perspective. Hassam is from DTE. He's going to give us the owner perspective. From JJ Barney, we have Sam. He's going to give us the subcontractor perspective on project control. And we had Folpi. She couldn't make it today for the meeting, but I have a recording of it. If we can maybe display that 15 minutes at the end of the program. She does a BIM model for us that I can share with you. If not, then you can watch it on demand in the program. And the Musi is from Wayne State University. He has a paper on earned value management. And at the end, Yahya will give us that demo on the weather control. So I'm going to turn in the mic now to Brandon so he can share his screen and start his discussion. Thank
you. All right. Thanks, Hani. You should be all able to hear me. I'm going to share my screen here now.
Yes, we do hear you. Thank you, Brandon. Yes.
All right, so the presentation today that Barton Mello Company is presenting is called Breaking Down the Work Packaging to Support Earned Value Management. Again, I'm Brandon Clements. I'm a project controls manager at Barton Mello Company. And so when Hani reached out to us about doing a presentation for this event, we naturally thought of two topics. We thought of advanced work packaging and earned value management. And, really at Barton Mello, we've been using both of these methodologies, across various projects with the goal to improve cost and schedule certainty. But really to implement either of these effectively, you need a well-defined work breakdown structure and well-defined work packages. So those are really the two elements, to help, implement these management techniques. A lot of people, hear work breakdown structure or work package, and they're, immediately confused or suspicious. And so I want to spend, a good portion of this meeting really walking through, how do you develop a work breakdown structure and how do you define work packages? So with that, let's go ahead and dive in here. So I'll start just by grounding everyone with some key definitions. We'll start really talking about what is the definition of a work breakdown structure. We'll talk about work package, and then we'll touch on the concept of earned value. So what is a work breakdown structure? So, if we read the definition, work breakdown structure is a hierarchical decomposition of the total scope of work to be carried out by the project team to accomplish project objectives and create the required deliverables. Another way to describe it is a work breakdown structure is a higher level project artifact that supports the creation of schedules and budgets. So just to break down the definition a little bit, decomposition here is a really important term, and it's really the technique of dividing and subdividing the project scope and project deliverables into really smaller and more manageable parts. The level to which you decompose a project is really driven by the amount of control you need for that. So it really depends on the type of project and the complexity of it for how far down it's decomposed. A few other things: total scope of work. So again, the work breakdown structure needs to be all encompassing. So if it's missing an element, you need to add that element into the WBS. Project objectives. Obviously, if the work doesn't contribute to the project objectives, it doesn't need to be included as part of the work breakdown structure. And then lastly, the term deliverables is really important here too, because work breakdown structure focuses on the work, as in terms of a deliverable. So we'll come back to this definition of work and deliverable as we're going through the presentation. So the next key term, actually, I want to share with you an example of a work breakdown structure. So typically, work breakdown structures are represented as a tree structure. And here there is an example of an aircraft, system, and they've basically broken down these into the different components of an aircraft system. So you have from the left, project management, you have training, data, the actual vehicle, support, facilities, et cetera. And then each of those, what we call a major deliverable is broken into, a component level. And again, this work breakdown structure would follow the definition of a work breakdown structure. It's decomposed, it's total scope of the work, it's focused on the objectives, and it's deliverable based. So just to provide an example here, you've probably all seen an example like this before. The next term that I want to share with you is the work package. So, generally it's understood that the work package is a deliverable at the lowest level of the WBS. And we also define it as the work required to, complete a specific job or process, such as like a report, a design, documentation, piece of hardware or service. So it's really like a deliverable at the lowest level. Sometimes I like to think about this as like, it's work that can be, managed by one person. So in the construction industry, it could be a project manager or a superintendent. The actual work in a work package, though, might be performed by many people. But I like that definition of being managed by one person. So, this presentation's focused a lot on project controls, and scheduling is one part of that. And oftentimes people get confused about, what is a work package versus what is a schedule activity. So, the work package is really focused on the deliverable. So in this case, you can see here at the top of the screen, we have caissons, which are deep foundations. So that's the deliverable. Barton Malow is installing caissons. The actual activity is, implies action. So the activity says, okay, I'm going to install caissons 1 to 12, and then I'm going to install caissons 9 to 16, et cetera. So the important distinction here is that the work package is really a noun. It's the object that's being delivered, and the activity is actually the verb of what are you as the company doing to accomplish the work. So I think that's another important term that sometimes is confused. So the next topic here is really, earned value analysis, and Hanny touched on this a bit, but really it's a method that allows, the project manager to measure the amount of work performed on a project beyond the basic review of cost and schedule reports. So it's a really way to integrate, cost and schedule together to come up with meaningful metrics. And just to highlight the importance of the work package in earned value analysis, I just have an example here that I've copied from PMI. And their example is, okay, if the work package is to install 500 new computers in an office, and let's say 350 computers are installed, our progress is 70%, of the work is complete. So if our budget for the work package is $200,000, 200,000 times 70% is 140,000, and that's the earned value. So that's just one component of earned value. You have planned value and the actual cost. But just to share with you, like the work breakdown structure and the work package are fundamental to doing earned value analysis. So I think with that, we're going to switch over into an example of how to develop a work breakdown structure and how to define work packages. So, we basically simplified, the 5 steps to creating a work breakdown structure. So the first one is the project. That's kind of a given. It's the first level of the work breakdown structure. So it's typically the project name represents that. The second item we're going to talk about is the project life cycle. The third item we're going to talk about is defining the major project deliverables. Then we're going to break those down into subcomponents, and then we're going to finally get to the work package level. So what I'm sharing with you here is the project life cycle for capital projects. And what from the left to the right, where the project would start is in some kind of validation or conceptual design phase where the owner's validating their particular project. Then once a certain level of scope definition is reached, it moves more into like a design development and construction documents where those documents are created. From there, obviously procurement can start, and then that supports construction, and then moving into commissioning, and then finally closeout. So again, the life cycle of the project, though, really depends on the project delivery method, that typically the owner decides. And so it has a substantial impact on the phases of the project. So just to give you an example, if an owner has a design bid build delivery method where they've hired the architect and done the design ahead of getting the contractor on board, the contractor's representation of that project life cycle would start after design. So we've kind of X'd out the design phase and said, okay, well, really the contractor is getting involved from procurement onward. So again, it depends on the project type and delivery method for this life cycle. So that's from a capital project perspective, but also, products and software also have life cycles. So for anyone, software developers or IT managers that are on the call here, you also have a software development life cycle that you're familiar with. It starts with requirements analysis, planning, software design, development, testing, and deployment. So again, this methodology, even though I'm showing the example from a construction standpoint, can be accomplished also from a software side. So after we define the project life cycle, then we really go into identifying the major deliverables. And in this case, what I'm sharing with you here is a site plan with kind of the key project items here. So we have a building expansion number 1, number 2, parking and drives, and site utilities. So those are like the major deliverables that this construction project has to deliver. The way we typically represent that then is in a tree structure. As you can see on the right, we take those major deliverables, we represent them as the tree structure. An important thing to keep in mind here is that we need to follow the 100% rule. And this goes back to the total scope definition. So really the WBS should represent all of the project work. So in this case, if there was some kind of substation area that was part of this project that I don't have represented on the site plan, I need to add that substation as part of my work breakdown structure. So that's just an example. So keep in mind the 100% rule. The WBS has to contain 100% of the project. So then, once we get the major project deliverables defined, basically we're going to break those down into subcomponents here. So what I've done is taken the building expansion number 2, broken that down into really the core and shell and the major work phases. So you can see building expansion 2 has core and shell. It has level 1. It has the equipment platform, and it has the roof. And the important part here is each of these contains all of the items that are sitting on it or above it. Like for instance, the roof WBS includes the roof membrane and all the equipment attached to it. So again, we're following that 100% rule of capturing the whole scope. Okay, so let's kind of put together the items we just went through. We talked about the building expansion project. We talked about the project life cycles, which is level 2. We talked about defining the major deliverables, which is level 3. And then we talked about level 4, which is identifying our subcomponents. So the next part we're going to walk through here is basically defining the work package, which again is really the key to advanced work packaging or earned value management. So at this level for defining work packages, I really recommend using an industry best practice or standard. In the case of construction industry, we have a Uniformat 2 classification, which actually lists out essentially work packages here. You can see that level 2, on the slide here, is really the level that I often find to be the most useful for defining work packages. So again, this is there's probably a similar thing for software and other industries, and I recommend trying to find that reference. Being able to use the same industry practice across your various projects and teams can really be a benefit. So again, here we're at the work package level, and just to kind of bring it all together here. So if we look at foundations, and then I start to define, okay, I have a work package number 1. It's my caissons number 1 to 32, and I start to define a budget for that, and I start to define my schedule activities. I have essentially all the key ingredients to do earned value. So let's just go to a quick kind of example of how we've used this before. So for a project that we had here, we took the work packages, which you can see on the left here, matching our Uniformat. We took our P6 schedule information, which had start and finish dates and months. We had manpower estimates in terms of hours. We had cost. We calculated men per month. And then we used that to come up with a planned value curve, which is, really a key component of the earned value tracking and measurement here. So I am right at.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to tell you to stop at the previous.
I'm right at. Sorry, Andy, that took a little longer than I thought.
No, that's okay. Can you go back to the previous slide? So my question is this done in Excel, or what software do you use for this?
This is done in Excel. You can do it in P6. So it kind of depends on the flexibility the team wants with.
Okay. So I know P6 can do that. So that's one of the things. And just to give an introduction to people that are listening in, me and Brandon worked on a DTE project, and I really loved the way that Brandon did his scheduling, because he did a very professional job on the whole getting the team together and the buy-in from all the subcontractors on the schedule that he developed. So that's one of the key things, is that once people see that you are developing the schedule in a professional manner, they believe more into that project and they want to achieve it. So one thing that we used in our project, Brandon, was the AWP Advanced Work Packaging from CII, Construction Industry Institute, for the DTE job. Do you guys use that in Barton Mello a lot, or in other projects, or is that something that just happened in DTE because DTE required it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we really use that technique, I'd say, on select projects. We've used it in a few places, I think, rather successfully. And really, we have an internal initiative to try to roll that out to more projects. So there was a team that really worked to kind of formalize that knowledge and document it so we could share it with more of our.
I'm sure all our audience would have many more questions for you. Just reminding everybody that your questions should come through our chat for now. And then once we open the lines for discussions, and then you can open your mic. So if anybody else has any questions, they can pop their questions anytime from the speakers, the panelists, and we can ask them at the same time. So that's great. Thank you very much. I don't know if Sam from I'm sorry, it's Hassam from DTE that's going to present to us next his perspective from an owner side. As mentioned, the project that I'm working currently now is for DTE. So we work very closely with MEP, the Mega Enterprise project. So here's Hassam, and here's his presentation. Can you share your screen with us, Hassam?
Sure. Thank you so much, Hani, for your presentation and for your introduce us to the. I'm happy today to. And actually, I'm gonna present today. Which we. Can you guys see my screen right now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I just sorry for the time was essence for me. I just put quick slides, a few slides, kind of present and like what is the healthy schedule, what is the quality plan, how to integrate healthy and quality as schedule and the plan, because you guys know plan different than schedule. So it was really a very good topic that Brandon from Paramelo talked about the earned value. I wish we have more time to discuss it and understand the Paramelo perspective and how they choose the data. I have a few questions here. I just wrote it down, but time is time. We'll try to leave that to the end. So simply, my name is Hassam Kafaji. I'm a project control specialist with DTE. I've been doing the scheduling and the planning, technique planning since like more than 15 years ago, and I have a master's degree from Lawrence Tech in construction and engineering management. Really, my content is going to be, I'm going to talk about the safety. As you know, DTE have a safety, something like very, very unique and important. And then DTE schedule a process, quality, earned value. I'm not going to repeat what Brandon said. I'm going to just give a case study quickly and talk about improve the quality of the plan. And then I have something optional I would like to talk about. It's not required, it's not something, but I love it. I think we should all think about it, which is BIM and Synchro. First, safety. DTE was consider safety as everybody count 200% for the safety. It's everyone's responsibility, and we kind of set up this calendar for the safety. I'm sure everybody, all these contractors and the other people here present their the GCs. They have their own safety process and metric, but that's what we do. We have a safety calendar. We discuss it every day before every meeting. We pick, like for instance, today is the 29th. The safety word is trenching and excavation. And then we discuss it prior to that meeting, just kind of maintain OSHA requirement and my OSHA requirement and make sure everybody working safe. And we have classified the incident to incident, near miss, request, and black. And these things we take care of in every day, probably in all our meetings. And in addition to the job site, people on the, I don't want to spend that much time about because I know time is essence, but if you have any question about the safety, then we can talk about it. The first topic that I'm talking about is schedule process and deliverable. When we talk about the deliverable, it's we mean the KPM. We call it KPM, which is key project milestone. And I took that picture from PMIGLC, to be honest. How to show, we show the initiation, the project life cycle, as Brandon mentioned. We have to keep this present all the time, because we are PMI. We are here as a PMI, so this is our standard. This is our process. DTE always consider the PMI for all their projects and even for their resources. And we classify the project as a gates and phases, starting from the initiation until the closeout. So that's what we expect from the contractor to follow the PMI process in terms of phases of the project and gated. Like gate 1, we have I think from gate 1 to gate 6. Each gate means something for us. Like for gate 1 is initiation, create the business case, and then gate 2, 3, 4, 5, and then gate 6, which is close out the project. Also, we maintain the reg. We call it project reg. It's very important to put how critical is that a project, and how critical, how complex, based on the cost and complexity and resources and cost and all these factors. We put a level to that project. It's high reg or moderate or low reg. It depends on how much, it depends on the factor that I mentioned. And MEP specifically, which is part from DTE, they have, we call it MEP key process, which is a plan, execute, and a closeout. And we have metric for all these factors: safety, cost, schedule, quality, and customer satisfaction. For example, our safety, the metric for our safety is OSHA and MyOSHA. We have to comply with these. So it's good to put a safety plan and you try to implement it, but in the same time you have to have metric to see how well you did toward the safety. So my metric is the OSHA. Same thing for the cost. How we measure we are within the cost, or how we measure we are doing good in terms of cost. When you put the cost in the schedule or we put in there for estimate, we measure it by the percent of projects behind the budget, and all this done by using P6 and earn value method. Same thing for the schedule. We put the schedule, and we have to make sure we are have a certain amount of KPMs that be met. For example, if you have 6 KPMs, which is key project milestone, we need to know how much percentage from this KPM met, like 1%, 2%. We met 90%. For example, last week we have 99% from KPM met. That means we are still in good level, and we set up a control level for that. Same thing for the quality. We're trying to provide a quality project, a product, but how we measure it? It's percent of defect. Do we have defect? Do we have a change order? Do we have a change request? Do we have a change that did not process yet? These defect, we consider it, we convert it to a percent and see how much projects that has this defect, and then we'll figure out if this is quality project or not. So the reason why I mentioned this, I think this is good way to control for a big company like the people in here. When you have 7, 6 projects, I'm talking about a platform. You gotta control these projects. You see how much defect, how much percent of defect you have, how much is schedule behind in these projects. What is the percent? If you have 6 projects and you have 1 behind or 2 behind, give me the percent, because by the end of the day, we need to present a metric, numbers and graphs. I have example about the quality standard and process the quality standard. First, DTE utilize P6 for all their projects. So we encourage the contractor to use P6, to utilize Primavera P6. Doesn't matter what the version is, but as a standard for our schedule and plan and earn value, we use Primavera P6. And we deal with the MS project in terms of contractor. Like when the contractor give us a schedule and MS project, yes, we're not saying no, but we recommend P6, and we are required for our we're using P6. Measures is to determine a successful outcome for deliverable. Like for example, if you Brandon mentioned that's the phase 1 deliverable. He mentioned deliverable many times. Phase 1, phase 2, or deliverable the foundation, deliverable site work, deliverable the MEP. So what is the measure for that? We can finish the project in 1 year. We can finish the project in 6 months, for example. We can finish it in 2 years. So we have to set up a KPM, which is a key project milestone. This milestone is to finish, for example, the site work. So our measurement to determine we have a successful outcome, we put that milestone to finish, for example, the site work, to finish design, or to finish the construction. We call it construction finish milestone. Without having measures or metric, you cannot tell our outcome is successful, because it's not about just complete the work. It's about to complete the work on time and on budget, within budget. That's why we're looking for earned value on percent of defect. Customer satisfaction is priority, and I have something called CI. In DT, we adopt something we call CI, which is continuous improvement. I think this invitation and this meeting is meant by continuous improvement. What is continuous improvement? We're always looking for opportunity to improve something. Like, for example, if you're using earned value using Excel, there's an opportunity to improve and using P6. This is, for example, if you're using a specific technique to update the cost, there is like if you put it in manually or something, or if you run a report manually, for example, run the report and show data manually. There is another way to automate the reports using pivot table, not regular, for example, Excel. For example, I've seen some people using Power BI to make a dashboard. So there's always opportunity to improve the process, and that's what we call it CI, and we give a certificate for that for everyone who make improvement. So I encourage everyone to look to this terminology and make sure you guys can apply it. Sorry, I'm walking quickly because I'm talking fastly because I don't wanna get Hani upset Hani, because he's looking to the time, and I appreciate that. Here's the earned value. What I'm trying to talk about, the earned value. Here's GRP, earned value case study. What is GRB? GRB, it's a gas renewal program. This is a program like 15 or 20 years. It's gonna be continued until 2035. I'm managing this project since more than 3 years. And what does that means? We are replacing the gas main for all Southeast Michigan and Grand Rapids, which is up north. So we replace the main and the main headers for the gas, and then go deeper to the main inside the street, roads, avenues, and stuff like that. And then we renew the services that help the customer, that serve the customer, the community. It's a huge program. It's about 200 miles per year. The cost, it's huge, about 200 million, or I don't want to get into that number. It's a big amount. We spend 20 million a month, for this program. Also, it's going to be extended to 2035. The goal to finish to 2035. Installing new main, installing new services, gas it up, and then we're going to abandon the old one, because we cannot leave the old one live, or would leak or stuff like that. We make sure the old one is abandoned and secured, current cap. So we utilize the earned value in P6 in the budgeted unit. We don't use it for cost only. For example, here's like, let us take Detroit. It's a big city. We divide Detroit for 4, 5, 6 zones or area, or we call it grids. And for example, let us take West Detroit. We're going to replace for this year 20 miles. Again, we're going to serve about 2,500 customer or service or address. And then we're going to abandon about 50 or 100 mile. And then what I put in P6, I put a budget, a labor budgeted unit as a unit, as a budgeted, and then I upload a resource to that schedule. And then I use the earned value to calculate cumulative year-to-date install versus cumulative plan gas main install. Also, I went even narrow to calculate cumulative weekly main install and cumulative weekly target install. Target means the baseline. And then if you look to the right, you will see the even per day, to see the productivity per day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and in case of there is a weekend, we can add it as well. So if you look to this year-to-date install, and then we have a current budgeted unit, and then when I export to that P6, this is how I export after done everything done in P6, and then I export it to Excel to show, because Excel is easy to navigate by everyone, and it's accessible and no need license or stuff like that. And you can use a pivot table to kind of display the data. For example, this is North Central Detroit 3 I've seen. We have like year-to-date install 135, and then this week we installed 1700, and then there is a hidden tables for the target, which is the baseline, how much we budgeted. So earned value management can use to measure the cost, which is SPI and CPI and index, but I rarely seen people using it to present the quantity budgeted unit, like non-labor budget unit or labor unit. I utilize it to present how much I earn every day from gas, because I have a target. I have, like, as I said, 200,000 mile per year. For this grid or for North Central Detroit 3, I gotta make, for example, 40 mile this year. How much I should earn to make this goal? Because there is no way you can delay. Gas is gas. People need gas every day. You cannot just delay one day. We are working day by day. So, sorry about that for distracting. My daughter just was calling me. Sorry. So that's how I put it in P6 and then export it to Excel. And then from Excel, I use it as a pivot table. Sometimes I use Power BI to present the data and make graphs. Easy for the customer, easy for the client, easy for the executive to review it quickly. From one click, you can tell how much I earn versus the plan. Here's something that I'm not using it right now in DTE, and it's not required by DTE. This is like, don't consider like an announcement. It just, for me, I like it. It's using BIM. Interactive 3D models always, for me, is helpful. As a scheduler, as a controller, as a client, I would love to see people using it, because it's going to give you a virtual walkthrough. It's going to have a cost saving, accurate work plan, and also it will improve the productivity. If you ask me how, I will give you a quick example. I don't know if I'm running too much. I have a project with I used to work to Wallabridge, and I love Wallabridge, by the way. It's my second family, and after DTE. We had a project with Ford. It's the biggest central energy plant, and there is so many. If you look at this, I just took quick example from the underground utility. All these colors present different utility. Like this one I remember is duct bank, the purple. This one electrical. This one water. Some geothermal. Some gas line coming to the CHP and CEP. And they are in different level, -0 to -3. This one in -3 to -5. The purple from level -5 to and so on. So when I get to put the schedule, they ask me as a senior scheduler, I want to put the plan to the field. I have to put all these underground utility up front before even they put after the pile come, before the pile come. But I face a problem. We have I remember Johnny Green for electrical, Motor City for mechanical. I have a Motor City for electrical. I remember the Blaze for excavation or someone. So what I figure out when I review the drawing, these people gonna conflict it while they are excavating. For example, gas line is gonna be very deep. Water line is not gonna that much deep. Geothermal pipe is gonna be very, very deep. So what's happened, what I felt, people, they're gonna excavate and backfill, and then the duct bank have the same, have duct bank the same level. He gonna re-excavate one more time. So to avoid double excavation by each contractor, I requested a BIM and cross-section and a 3D model cross-section that shows me each these of utility, not in the physical structure, in the section in 3D model, each level how much, like for example in level 0, -5, for example, what I have, do I have utility, do I have water, do I have geothermal, Do I have DAC bank in this level? So I can put, for example, the schedule based on the level approach. I'm going to put in the schedule, for example, in 9 first, we're going to excavate for DAC bank. We're going to excavate, we're going to install, for example, water line or sewer line at the same time, because we need to backfill one time. Without having BIM, how can I know the level of excavation in a virtual way? And in addition, I used it to schedule the MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing as well. Because, you know, we have firefighting, we have low chill water, we have low and high chill water. We have, I remember, duct work, air duct work. All these above ground or all these overhead utilities going to be conflicted. So, and then if in order for me to put the schedule who start first, it was easy for me to request it from the engineering to give me a 3D model. I remember they use Navis work or something, kind of show me in each level, in each stage, which kind of utility that I should start or put in order for me to give it to the superintendent, to the people in the field, so they can make the plan work instead of conflict and avoid rework and stop work. Yeah, that's what
that's actually what we're going to present at the end of the program. Is we have a BIM a modeler that she uses Synchro and Navis work for doing sequence of project. And
3D model. Synchro is a 3D model schedule. I think this is another great idea
for you. So all this thing that you described about project control, it happens in MEP, and the way that you control your projects is you have a scheduler from your department that goes into these projects and assists the project manager. Is that how it's done?
Yes, exactly.
For every project. Okay, yeah. So because I know the DTE is very big on PMI, and they're one of our major sponsors for PMIGLC, and I know that they make it a requirement for their project managers to become
they won't hire any PM without having a PMI certificate.
Exactly. So
to be honest, you'll not be a project manager unless you are a PMI or PMP.
Exactly.
To be honest,
sorry for that. Require that people don't do it, and we have a lot of DTE people. Actually, our event manager Shalom is also from DTE. And we have Dan Cohen, who's one of our biggest fans, and he's one of our biggest contributors. He's from DTE, so we love working with DTE and clients like DTE, and we appreciate all the efforts that you have. I know you guys are very big on safety. I've met your CI directors and managers. They visit our sites very often. And I hope to see more of your contributions, especially in project controls, into our projects in the future. Thank you very much, Hassam. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for everyone.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So at this time, we're going to have Sam from JJ Barney. If he's online and he has his camera on, we can have Sam. Sam, are you available?
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, okay. I don't have my camera on.
Oh, you don't have your camera. Oh, okay. So everybody has to see me then.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Sam.
Good evening, everyone. This is Satyam Karnati. I'm working with JJ Bani as an estimator project manager. And my role here, majority of the time, is estimate and manage projects and do a little bit of project controls. So when I say little bit, we are still trying to develop the full-scale project controls methodology here. So when Hani invited me, I said, like, we do everything on Excel. Like Brandon and Hassam said, Excel is the simplest tool that we use here, and I'm trying to develop a project controls methodology for JJ Bani. And I have a master's in construction management from Western, and I've been associated with JJ Bani for a couple of years. So I don't want to waste your time on going through the definitions that Brandon and Hassam has already covered. But my primary focus at JJ Bani, here we track three things on every project. So that's a weekly thing that we do: planned value, earned value, and actual cost. So our project control process starts from the beginning. So when we estimate our project, we have a estimator schedule and manpower requirements and initial phasing of the project. So once we get a project, so since we are the subcontractors, we do cast in place concrete division. So specialty concrete construction contractor. We are based in Rochester Hills, Michigan. So once we get a project awarded or in the post-bid phase, so our estimator reviews the scope of the work with the project team. So that's the project manager, superintendent, foreman, and our project control specialist, so who is our director. And so the estimator kind of shares his thoughts on the way he actually bid it. And then the project manager evaluates the requirements, manpower requirements, the standard time, like the regular, what's my crew and what's my peak time crew based on the estimate schedules and the input from the foreman. So here we work together, the estimator and project manager along with our foreman. We work together to create a, based on the general contractors or the project managers, general contractor schedule, we kind of develop our work breakdown structure and use the similar work breakdown structure and use it to develop our schedule of values. Like on a typical project, we will have foundations, flat work, and site work. That's my three primary breakouts. And then every activity has its sub activities. So once we do that, we will furnish work plans to our we will furnish work plans to the general contractors and foreman packet. So I will run you by what typically we have in the foreman packet, and then that also includes all the safety requirements and key milestones. So this is our
So
initial.
Sam, if I understand correctly, you do self-perform on only these three items that you mentioned, the site work and concrete, and what else?
We do anything in concrete. So we do demolition,
Okay.
excavation, all the renovation projects.
So
We also
you
do
do
substation
like one
works.
schedule in the beginning when you bid the job, and then another one when the general contractor asks you to synchronize your schedule with them, or how does it work usually with the
When
general
we initially, like as an estimator, when I bid a project, so I will develop a schedule with the manpower requirements. And then I share the same thoughts like, okay, so this specific activity that I have, foundations, and we have 890 linear feet of foundations on this project. And according to the GC schedule, we have like uh, 30 working days. And then we will develop our own schedule and see. So that helps us to make a decision if I have to put like one team or two team of two crew team. So we will determine, and based on that, we will furnish our initial, like during the bid time at JJ Bani, we will put our initial schedule together and furnish. This is what I came up with, and in accordance to your schedule, this is what I'm coming up, and then we can meet the requirement, and we will put it in. Like typically, I do it in Excel and show them like this is my work plan, and so my list of activities and the durations and my manpower. That way I'm giving them the information like, you know what, I have a plan. And then
because it affects your productivity as well as efficiency and your costs if they change your schedule and maybe compress it or ask you to have more manpower or something in the house, you change it. So that's why I asked that question, is that
yes, so
you do
what
that
we
during the
typically do
estimation
is,
phase?
yeah, what we typically do is during the estimation phase, we furnish them the rough schedule, the order of magnitude, like this is how many days I have in this project, and the foundations, this is how I have. So when it comes to time, when it's time to actually do full plan meeting or captures of some schedule milestones, so that will give us some understanding. Okay, right now I have this is my crew size, and if I had to upsize my crew to meet the schedule, that's how I'm going to do. So it's either like determining if I'm going to work like 5 8 hour days or 5 10 hour days, or if I need double the crew. So depending upon the type of the project and general contractor's requirement.
Thank you.
So, and once we do that, we will just return all the subcontractors and suppliers in the initial phase of the plan, planning phase, and we will share our schedule and thoughts with our subcontractors. Say like, this is what I'm looking at doing, and this is how many tons of steel or how many cubic yards of concrete is what I need. So we discuss like, this is my peak pour, so I'm doing this slab 12,000 square feet a day, 6-inch slab, and this is going to be roughly 200 cubic yards of concrete. So we will discuss the peak time requirements with our subs and suppliers when we make a buyout decision. So our end value management applications at JJ Bani. So as I said, once we have a project, so we have the schedule of values and then work breakdown structures. And we also conduct weekly progress meetings with our key individuals like our superintendent, our foreman, and project managers will sit down together on the job site after the weekly progress meeting on the site, and then we will discuss everything like the equipment, manpower requirements, and where are we supposed to and where we are, and what's the revised schedule looking like. And then we also have labor, material, equipment, and tracking tool, progress invoices. So 4-week look ahead schedules. I'm going to show you guys the sample of all these that I'm talking. I just put together a sample Excel tracking tool. As I said, good old simple Excel sheet is what I prefer. So this kind of correlates to what Brandon said. So this is how we break down our activities. So like right now here, I have foundation. These are the 3 billable activities, and then I have excavation and backfilling, perimeter grade beam. So, and then I have flat work, and I have associated activities, and we have site work and all the associated activities and all the changes. So this is according to our work breakdown structure based on our initial discussions, and this is what we furnish and use to bill our do our monthly billing also. So our monthly evaluation, like as I said in the presentation, so we have a weekly progress meeting. That's when me being a project manager, so we get together on site once in a week, and then so if you see our monthly input, so tracking the project. So this is how I do every month for the backup. So I have this sample, for example, I have installed 17.6 tons of steel out of 55. That's 34.51. So that same percentage goes on to my schedule of value. And then that's how I'm billing. And then my installation. So how much of these 17.5 tons I have installed? So 12.6. And then excavation and backfill. How many total linear feet of exterior grade beams do I have? And the interior. This percentage that I have here is based on the width and depth. So, and then I distribute the cost accordingly. And then that's how I come up with the earned value in this column. So I have finished 24% till date on this, and I have earned 50,976. And on the interiors, I have earned 12,796. On a whole, that's my total activity for this excavation backfill activity. I have finished 20% of my work. Similarly, my exterior grade beams. So I will have a schedule of value activity and the linear feet, and that's how we do. So there are various ways.
How you have it's the same thinking of PMBOK and how we do in PMBOK. The only thing that is different is the 4-week look ahead. I was interested to know why you picked 4 week, and I know that, for example,
I'm going to show you the
would ask you 6 week. I know Brandon used to do 6 week look ahead with us, but just want to know how this 4 week came up.
I'm gonna run you with that. I have a sample of that also, honey. So I'm gonna run you that. So this is our weekly tracking when we are on job, and then I will, based on our weekly input from the field.
Oh, just a second, Sam. It seems that you're showing a different screen or different thing on your Excel.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. We don't see his Excel.
We
I
don't
was
see that.
surprised. We still see your presentation, Sam.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks
okay.
for Brandon to point that out. Actually, he sent me.
I'm sorry.
Right now.
Okay. Oops. Sorry.
I think you need to. I guess. Okay.
Can you all see my Excel right now?
Now we can see it.
Now we can see it.
So, sorry for that. I messed it up. My bad. So as I said, let me go back. So this is how we do our work breakdown structure. So our schedule of values, when we develop the schedule of values, so we will break it down and then into sub activities, and each activities are associated with the quantities. So some of them are evaluated per ton, some of them are evaluated based on the cubic yards, and some of them are on the linear feet. Or so, and then my monthly evaluations for billing. So I'm sorry, I took all the time just to waste it. So this is how I develop a calculation on my backend Excel that shows based on the field input, and this is tool that I use to actually do my monthly billing and project to the end. So in the initial phase, like how my team on site, like despite of me being not there every day, so I just try hard to make sure I go once in a week. But what we do in the initial phase, so I use Plan Swift, and then I will plan the sequence of activities. Okay, so this is 130 linear feet a day is what I'm expecting. That's the poor one, and that's 102 linear feet, and that is 29 cubic yards. So I do eliminate the thought process for them to figure out like, oh, how long do I go and what needs to be done. But yeah, based on their input, we might so we work together to get more forms or more equipment or material or labor needed if they feel that this 100 that we initially discussed based on the way the project is going. So we will revise our plan. This is what we furnish, like this project. So we eliminate the process of them thinking and figuring out where's what, like, oh, where is this detail, where is this information. So I highlight and I give them a 11 by 17 or the bigger screen, like depending upon the type of the project, that they will stick it in the job site, and they should be able to know, like they should be able to see their entire scope with the detail, with the dimensions and the lengths. So this eliminates the changes or extra work. So if they are deviating anywhere from the initial plan, they know that they need to notify me sitting in the office, so that way I can go see what changed, and if I don't have revisions. Like that actually helped on a bunch of projects so far. They just got a field drawings that was never shared with me, so we kind of keep control on it. So as I said, the weekly tracking tool. So this is a tracking tool, the sample screenshots that I've created. So we have general conditions, slab on grade prep, and place. So my first tab gives me the estimated value and the actual value. This is a sample, so don't take the numbers too serious about it. So this is the estimate and the actual. So this kind of gives me the percentage that I'm running into, like 149% of the manpower that I had. So I overspent 49% of the man hours, and then I overspent 53% of the man hours on my placing. And then this gives me the percentage of, sorry, this is the cost and this is my man hours. So if I go deep, my next tab for this is how we break out the crew, and that gives me my estimate So all this information, we get it from HCHS, that's our estimating software. So the way we actually bid it. So this is my per estimate, and then my actually daily tracking tool. So these are the activities that I made, that I simplified it to put everything, the prep and place, in just 2 activities for them to track on in the field. So every day, once I get the daily report, I uh, I update our tracking log to show the actual man hours. So this is my total man hours for the day, and this is how many cubic yards of concrete I poured. So this gives me a clear understanding of how I'm running. So this is I'm overrunning on my cost. So and then my man hours. So I've spent more. So that's telling me to go look at something. I have finished. I've spent half of the cost and half of the man hours. So it's taking me to this earned value analysis. This we call it cash flow analysis from our end. This is a sample. This is a sample. This is how we do every month. So when we do our monthly billings, so this is my total expense. This comes from my accounting department, and this is our end value till date based on the way we build it, based on the actual progress. And then the reason that I do specifically returnage, like cash flow, so it's 10% returnage. I'm not going to get it. I want to make sure I have money flowing for this project, so I don't want to rely on the returnage which I'm not going to get, despite of like I still keep track of the total percentage, but I just kick that out and make sure I have enough money. And then I will calculate the profit excluding the returnage until May, and then I'll just do the returnage, including the returnage. So on this project, if you see, on May, I had 22%, June 21, July 19, and my August is 16%. So if you see, it's constantly falling. So when I go back to check the schedule and what's going on my tracking tool, I see bunch of my finishers are on this job. So I have a labor classification on the top, which I cropped it out. But so I have the too much manpower on this job. And when I dig into it, so it was just like, so that gives me why. So and then we will just reallocate the activities and say like, okay, this is what so we have to finish this by this certain deadline. That kind of gives them a sense of responsibility.
So Sam, excuse me, when you do your preliminary estimate, you put a number for certain activity. How did you actualize this activity? Because you're using Excel and I'm using P6, but in your case, how did you actualize? What is your actual means to you? So the estimates, you consider the planned cost, for example, the planned budgeted cost. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And then, so let's say I have $200,000 to do 300 linear feet of a grade beam.
This is budgeted, right?
That's budgeted, and that's the number I used to bid, and I got the work. So I can't go and ask for more. That's what I'm getting. So I have to keep my cost under that in order to make profit. So when I estimated, so what we do is we put a crew together. Okay, I have 2 carpenters, 3 laborers, one operator, and certain equipment, and they are going to do 110 linear feet a day. So that's our initial thought. Like as an estimator, that's my initial thought. So we share that thought with our foreman. He's like, oh, you screwed it up, or he's gonna say, yeah, that works. So then we will perform and we will track the work in the field, and that gives us, okay, so I estimated it being like 100 linear feet a day, and we ended up actually doing 120 linear feet a day. So he's actually capturing 20 more linear feet. So when we do, so we will use that data on the similar project. If we bid the similar project in the future, we will use that data, and we will just kind of improve ourselves. Like next time when I use like roughly, oh, I'm going to do 110 because we did 120 on the similar project. that kind of keeps me.
Actually, there's another question from Neil. I think it's related to the same thing, is that you showed a number on column G, I think, for percent complete. And he's asking, what method do you use for that? Is that, for example, the way I understand from his question, is it is it monetary percent complete? Is it progress work? Is it time? How do you come up with
I have, yeah, just the same example, 200,000 for 300 linear feet. I have, let's say $1,500 per every linear feet. And if I have finished 100 linear feet, so I have finished $15,000 worth of work, is how we track.
So it's true earned value and
true earned value. So,
so you compared with the actual cost and what you have.
Yes, yes.
And he's asking, it was monthly progress. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So I want to see your schedule tab. I mean, I know we're running out of time because we got two more speakers.
So this is my end of the project projection. So I'm projecting it to be within 15% based on the way we are going, because we are running into the winter. So taking everything into consideration, the weather conditions and the timeline of the project, holiday season, and the rate of productivity during this time period. So this is what I'm projecting and I'm trying to hit. If I hit better, that's going to be a internal pull from our end, and put more key people and drive the schedule. So as far as the schedule, this is my, like for this project, this sample that I have, this is my initial schedule according to the general contractor. So they have this specific, like 113 is their start date, and I have my revised schedule. I say, like, if I still start on 127, I should still be able to finish it according to your timeline based on my schedule, because I am overlapping and having multiple crews. So when I produce them my schedule, they will understand, and that goes into the document. And we sit down.
And that's how you communicate this with your general contractor, to give them the like maybe the overall schedule of how you plan to complete that task or whatever.
Yeah, even though
that's another. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, even though they have their own schedule that we are we have to stick to, but we have some leverage of actually working with them, and as long as it is within the timeline, so they're good with it. So this specific project, so it was supposed to be done, so we had to push it. So now this is my schedule for my slab on grade pours. So this is my pour, my prep and place for each and every pour, and I have the square footage area. This is what I share it with my foreman, so then they have an understanding. So in this area, I have this many square feet, and this is one large pour. So I give them the information and the thought process on how I actually think can be done, and then they will determine what's the best way of doing it, like 19,750 square feet in two large pours. So based on our previous projects. So this is the 4-week look ahead that I was talking about, that we use to track our daily progress. So here, so I have this, if you see the activity for every project. So I have two crews. One is my finisher crew and my carpenter and labor crews. And this green is my pour dates. So we have the plan versus action. So we will furnish this based on the discussions during our weekly meeting. I will furnish this copy. Okay, per our discussions, this is our plan for next 4 weeks. So, and then they will track. Okay, so this is what I did this week. So it's done, 100% done, 30% percentage completion. And then this, so why I do 4 weeks is there is no actual big reason. That's my standard 11 by 17 size that I can fit and make it look good. So there is no actual reason behind it. Some do 2 weeks and some do 6 weeks, but I feel comfortable like planning ahead for 1 month will give enough leverage, because it's like, if I had to ask my foreman, is like, what are you going to do after 5 weeks? So even though I can put it together, but he starts, like, we take our field foreman's input really serious here. So we actually go with their opinion and whatever, like we'll take their opinions and give them advice, like, you can do this better. This is how it can be done. So let's change this and put these guys on this. So that 4-week look ahead helps us determining if we need any material, equipment, or stuff that needs to be delivered on job site, and we will schedule. This actually helps us in the safe work practices, because we have enough time. If we have any activity that needs special safety attention, or the quality, or the prep, or submittals, RFIs, so the foreman actually gets a chance. Okay, this is what I'm doing in next 2 weeks. So let me take a look at these details and ask questions.
Yeah, that looks very good, Sam. I greatly appreciate the detail that you've given us. I'd love to hear more and see more detail about your system. But as I said, we're running out of time. Hopefully, we can do this in another time. If you can conclude your talk, and then we'll have Musi to discuss his research on EVM from academic perspective. So just if you can close your argument, and we can move on to Musi. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Hani, just a reminder, if everybody could wait till the end to ask their questions or put it in the chat, it would probably go quicker for everyone. Thank you.
That's a great idea. Go ahead, Musi. You can share your screen and go ahead. Thanks. I think we have to unmute him. You have to unmute
See, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, now we should hear you.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, that is good. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Hani, for giving me this platform to speak a little bit about my research. So as to my background, my name is Musi Simnaizgi. I'm a PhD candidate at Wayne State University. And I have been practicing both in the academia and the construction industry for the past, for more than 10 years. And now I am a licensed professional engineer in Michigan. I have both the construction industry experience and the academia have been both overseas and here in Africa, Middle East, and now here in the US. And I have been a PMIGLC member for the past 2.5 years, I guess. Okay, so as my title shows, I'm going to talk about the investigation and basically the research is about factors affecting EVM implementation in construction industry. So before I delve in more into the subject matter of my research, let me quickly go through the what EVM and the background to it. So basically, most of my colleagues have already mentioned a little bit of the earned value management, and let me kind of quickly go through it. So previously, project performances used to be assessed by comparing basically the planned value against the actual cost, but this comparison doesn't provide the entire picture. It specifically doesn't indicate whether the project is within schedule or not. And no information is conveyed regarding the planned cost of the completed work. So it doesn't tell us, basically, that comparison doesn't tell us how much worse the completed work is. However, when we come to EVM, it gives a better objective assessment of project performance compared to what I already said, as it integrates the 3 key components of project management. Basically, it integrates the schedule, scope, and cost of a project. As far as the background to EVM, it has been originated in the Department of Defense in the 60s as cost schedule control system criteria. it had the original 35 criteria that earned value management system that contractors must satisfy. Then American National Standard Institute and the Electronic Industry Alliances reduced the 35 criteria into 32 guidelines in the 90s and compiled it as an ANSI EIA 748 standard. So basically, this transferred EVM from government requirement to an industry best practice. And Department of Defense actually accepted this standard and it as a replacement to the CSCS requirement. And PMI, understanding the importance of EVM, started to include in its PMBOK in its first edition in 1987. And as most of us know, EVM is now one of the techniques in both the cost control and schedule control process in the cost management and schedule management knowledge area, respectively. So what is exactly EVM? So EVM is, as I already mentioned, a project management methodology that combines schedule, cost, and scope to answer the question, what work was done for the money spent? So EVM essentially answers three questions. These questions are like, what is the product? Basically, what is the scope? How much does it cost to deliver the project or the cost of that scope? Then when will the project be delivered? So we have three parameters that are integrated and answered by EVM. And to do this, EVM has three key parameters or key variables: the planned value, the earned value, and actual cost. So the planned value is basically the budgeted cost of the work scheduled, and the actual cost is actual cost of work performed. So these were the two costs that used to be compared in the old days. Now we have this earned value, and earned value is also called budgeted cost of work performed, and it is the value of work performed expressed in terms of the budget of the work. So it basically reveals how much of the work performed so far would cost according to the budget, or in other words, how much the work was performed is worth. So let me quickly talk about the EVM metrics that we have. So EVM matrices basically has two of these. We have the variances and the performance indices. And these are used to assess both the cost and schedule performance of a project. So as you could see, the formulation for the indices are given on the left corner of the figure and the variances on the lower right side of the figure. So the cost variance and cost performance index, as their name suggests, compare the budget of work performed to the cost of the actual work. And when the CPI is less than one, the cost variance or the CV will be also less than 0, and this tells us cost overrun for the work completed. So it tells us we are over budget. And if CPI is greater than 1 and CV is greater than 0, it shows us like we are doing well. We are basically having an underrun. In a similar way, the schedule variance and the schedule performance indices index compare project of work performed to the budget of the work scheduled. And in a similar way, when SPI is less than 1, it tells us less work was completed than was planned. And when SPI is more than 1, it tells us more work was completed than was planned. So as a summary, we can say like when the indices are more than 1 and when the variance is positive, we have a favorable progress. But when the indices is less than 1 and variance are negative, we have a unfavorable progress. So EVM, as what we have said, is a good way, but it has some issues. Basically, EVM performs quite well for the cost aspect of a project. However, when we see the schedule matrices, both the SPI and the SV, those values do not properly represent the real situation towards the end of a project, especially over the final third of a project. and the problem becomes more evident when there is a delay. So basically, it loses the predictive ability over the last third of a project, and it fails to give the true picture of a delayed project. So because at the end of the project, whether the project is delayed or not, SPI converges and concludes at 1, as we can see on the diagram. We can see like SPI is converging to 1, and SV converges to 0. So basically, at the end of the project, it tells us like everything went well. So this was a drawback. Moreover, as you can see here, the schedule variances are given in dollar, in a monetary unit, and this is contrary to expectation. It's reported in units of cost rather than time. Because of this, the schedule variance value becomes counterintuitive and doesn't communicate a meaningful message. With these drawbacks, the schedule assessment couldn't be performed reliably. So using EVM, as a solution to this, an extension of EVM, which is the earnest schedule, was devised or has been developed. And it uses a time-based indicators. And it has actually, the earnest schedule has been also included in the latest edition of the PMBOK guide, the PMI book. And the earnest schedule, the idea behind earnest schedule is basically to find the time at which current earned value should have been achieved as per the planned value or the planned cost spending. So it's basically estimated by projecting the cumulative earned value onto the, so we project the cumulative earned value into the planned value, and then we go with the vertical line from point of intersection from here to the time axis gives us the earned schedule. So basically, the earned schedule is the time from the project start, to the point on the PV curve where PV equals EV. It could thus be said, earned schedule is the earned portion of the planned duration and tells the time worthiness of the work performed. So here, for instance, as an example, we can see the difference between cost-based schedule variance and the time-based schedule variance. So this T indicates the time-based. So we can see that at present, the actual time or the data date is 7 months, and the schedule variance, as we can see, is 2 months. So it's basically telling us the project is behind schedule by 2 months. But if we use the schedule variance, cost-based schedule variance, basically it gives us some dollar value, and it doesn't give any meaningful information. But when we use the earned schedule, it gives us the actual meaningful information.
So this is to solve the issue at the end of the project, or are they going to use this thing during the whole time of the project? Because as you mentioned, one of the drawbacks of using EVM was when we get too close to the end of the project. Is this done in the entire project?
Still, I mean, it's the issue with EVM becomes more magnified towards the end of the project. But even throughout the project, using earned schedule basically gives a much better predictive power, and
so you can use it throughout the whole project. And you mentioned, because this is very interesting for the people that studied PMBOK and they became PMP, these are new discussions in PMBOK. You're saying that PMBOK is adapting the earned schedule methodology into the new PMBOK book?
Yes, it doesn't basically delve into much depth, but if we check the latest edition, the 7th edition, earned schedule is mentioned there as an extension.
That's news to me, so that's a nice thing to know.
Yeah, so probably people who are
I know edition 7 is coming, so but I didn't know this was changed. Okay, thank you.
It's already included, actually. Okay, so coming back to my research, so basically the problem that we have is EVM has been relatively well established in the aerospace, energy, and defense industry. However, it has not been used frequently in other industries, particularly our industry, the construction industry. And whenever it's implemented, there are questions on its effectiveness and reliability, especially in terms of the schedule performance. So we want to identify the factors that influence the implementation of EVM, identify the most important factors, and quantify or model the relationship between the factors and the implementation of EVM. Then we plan to, or the other objectives that we want to meet or hit is develop a strategy for mitigating the negative influences. And finally, we want to make recommendation and suggestion for EVM best practices in the industry. To address the problem identified in the research and meet the objective of the research, we developed a survey instrument to collect the necessary data. And based on literature review, interviews, and research meetings, a survey questionnaire with the below component was developed. So respondents' demography or background, like information on their education level, years of experience, position in their company, then factors affecting implementation of EVM, like the type of project, project budget, company role, and other factors as well. And then we also added open-ended questions, giving the respondents to tell us if there are other factors that influence the EVM implementation, which we didn't include in our survey, and then how they tackled those factors. After developing the survey instrument for data collection, the survey was reviewed by research teams, which includes people from Wayne State University and other external industry, mainly DTE and others, for consistency of the questions in survey instrument with the objectives, measurability of the survey question outcomes, clarity of the survey questions. And before we distribute it to our target group, we conducted a small pilot survey to see if the intended purpose was met. And the survey was distributed online using the Qualtrics survey software platform, and we collected 367 responses. Out of these, 354 were completed responses, and the remaining 12 were not completed. They had some missing data. And from the 354 completed responses, 203 respondents said they are familiar or they are aware and they know EVM. And when we asked them whether they implement it or not, 151 respondents said like they implemented EVM in their projects, and the remaining 77 said they didn't implement EVM in their project. And the other 151 out of the 354 people who completed the survey said they are not familiar with EVM, basically. And as you can see on the figure, that was basically the flow chart that we used to differentiate our groups. And we intend.
Did you target like professional, like project managers, or did you just target like people that are in the project management related work? How did you target? Was it Delphi technique that you used to target special people?
So basically our primary people of interest were project managers, project engineers, project controllers, and schedulers. So these were people who are more, who work closely with EVM and
that's a nice information to know how they reacted to your question too. So I'd like to know that, how the demographic.
Yeah. So we are actually, this is work in progress, and we try to analyze the different groups. Basically, we try to see what the people who are implementing are saying.
I know we're running out of time, and this is very interesting. So I want to get to like your conclusion so we can move.
Yeah. So basically, I have some preliminary survey result. As you can see, around 42%. This is like people. The project sizes that people for people who are implementing EVM, and we can see like 42% of the respondents have project size, big project sizes, and the others are like smaller ones. And when we ask them how they are using it, we can see like more than 2/3 of respondents basically use EVM for both controlling and prediction. And when we see the project delivery method and type of contract that people are using, we can see like the design build and design bid build are basically account about 2/3, and the contract type, the fixed account about like 80% actually. And then we have, this is a comparison in terms of people who are implementing and people who don't implement. Final, basically, based on the literature review, research team meetings, and the survey results, the factors indicating in the figure, which we use it as a fishbone diagram, basically, identified the potential influencing EVM implementation. The exact nature of the relationship and which of these factors significantly affect EVM implementation is what we are working on, as this study is work in progress. At the end of this study, we anticipate to identify the most important factors that influence EVM implementation, develop model, and make necessary recommendation for best practices. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate for giving me this
Thank you, Musi. It was very good, and I know a lot of people in the meeting have a lot of questions for you, especially I know this is a very good topic for Dr. Usman and Dr. Moylan and Dr. Al-Bayadi to discuss and have more questions for you. But like I said, we're running out of time. We got only like 20 minutes, and I want Yahya to also have the chance to present his presentation. And hopefully after Yahya's presentation, I'm going to give few event updates and announcements, and then we can discuss like for half hour any questions or any discussions that other people might have. But feel free to send your questions in the chat as the presenters are presenting, so we know how many questions we have and how much time we have to allocate for the question and answer. Yahya, can you turn on your mic and present your presentation? Thank you, appreciate it.
Hi everyone. Thank you for having me on this conference. It's really my pleasure to show you whatever I have here. I am trying to be as not boring as possible, since this is the last one and everyone now wants just to go and just hit exit and that's it. So let me here try to share my screen.
Well, I'm sure the people that are staying here are using this time very, very well. So it's great topics that we're discussing here. And I'm going to do like a little wrap up of how all of these discussions that we made are related and how you can use it to benefit your organizations and the way you do work. So I'm just going to give that conclusion at the end. Go ahead.
So, all right. So this topic I'm going to talk I'm going to talk about the weather analysis for the schedule, for construction schedule preparation and planning and monitoring phase and execution of the project. This is a little bit about me. I've been like working as a project control consultant for DT Energy and project control specialist too for City of Fort Worth Transportation and Public Works Capital Delivery Projects in Fort Worth, City of Fort Worth. Planning and schedule work manager also for TBC for gas turbine, oil and energy gas, senior technical support engineer, Manafsa Solutions. So I have around like roughly like 12 plus years in project control field experience. I have a bachelor degree in mechatronics engineering, University of Technology, and now I'm pursuing my Master of Engineering in Construction Engineering and Management at University of Texas at Arlington. I have also I'm a PMP and a PMI scheduled professional SP. And right now I'm also pursuing or trying to get the RNP, Risk Management Professional too, hopefully. So why we are trying to involve weather analysis in our schedules or in construction schedules. So I found this paragraph quite interesting. According to one of the leading statistics companies on the internet, stats that time delay, achieving productivities, and weather, all these three account for 60% of the root causes for cost overruns in construction project worldwide. This is pretty interesting because I'm not going to talk about the other terms because they're all known, and especially also the productivities, but weather also is really an important aspect of these among those three reasons. Construction work is really greatly affected by the weather events such as snow event, heavy rainfall, high temperature, wind, tornadoes. All these will affect the work. As my experience, like I worked as a contractor and as a client, so I would say I face all these conditions in my work. Like I've been, we get like a high temperature as 135 Fahrenheit, where the work has to stop. No more work had to be done, so work was postponed. The same thing for snow and heavy rainfall, that everything would be stopped due to that reasons. The wind and tornadoes also would affect structural work, hauling and stuff also like related to the construction work. All these conditions is really affecting and would just postpone the work and have like extra delays to the schedule. So due to these reasons, weather conditions is like really considered as a high risk that really needs to be prepared and needs some planning ahead. Considered as a high risk, then it's really need to get a potential risk response to be prepared for it too. We can't just like leave it as it is. Wherever we're gonna face, we have to plan for it. We have to prepare also risk and the contingency. So with all that said, the best way to do that is by predicting potential schedule delays caused by weather conditions is really necessary. And here is where we want to talk about the weather analysis. So weather analysis is really one of the most important aspects of to be considered when creating a construction project schedule. Honestly, in my experience, like most of the contractors, like they neglect that part, unfortunately, and that would cause problems. So when weather impact the schedule, the major like idea is we do change order, we get the extra days, we get the extra time, fix, that's it. Well, this is not okay because this is considered as a poor planning, I would say, because you are building your schedule assuming that zero weather impact will be there's a zero impact for the schedule by the weather events. There will be no weather events that lead us to be creating an unrealistic schedule. And this is something that really need to work about, that to have a realistic. This is one of the actual reasons we want to do planning and creating schedule. Being in the planning ahead is to have a realistic schedule and transparent too. So you also can't build a schedule based on 0% weather. So there's other ways that conducting the weather delays in schedules, which is this is some like rarely used. I just want to mention it, not to use it, but as a bad exercise also is by prolonging activity durations in the schedule for some activities. And this term as PMI, this term is called as padding by adding extra days, extra unusable days to some activities, just to account for weather impact to these activities, make sure that these activities will having these extra days as an impact. Well, this is not right because for some reason, this is you're gonna have like extra days that you don't need them in an activity. It will be hard. It eventually will be hard to manage these these activities when you have it as a long one. When you add it like unneeded activity, unneeded days to it, this is going to be hard to manage. Believe me, that's one of the things. Also, eventually this will add also float, and for as a client point of view, extra float is really not welcome in having the schedule. Everything should be calculated correctly. And also like one of the things that I would say eventually it will affect the schedule is having some activities get into the critical path, which they are not when you do the update cycle during the work, during the execution cycle. It will take some time to really get to investigate the reason why was the problem. Then you get to, oh, these activities are like too long, it shouldn't be that long. So this exercise is not really okay. I'm just mentioning it just to let you know about it. The other way that is like, I would say commonly used, and it's a good way also, it's a good one, is by we call it as adding a buffer activity at the end of the schedule, construction schedule, and that buffer activity will account for have a specific days to accounting for a weather impact. It could be calculated, which is good. It could be not, just a number of days. Either way, it's a good way, but it's lacking one important thing. What it is, so when you build your schedule and have a buffer at the end, you are not accounting for the weather impact during the execution cycle of the project. So you just accepting the risk by adding an allowance or contingency duration at the end of the project to as a risk response just by the end. So why it is like you're not like accounting for during the execution. If anything happens in the middle, you will have like some of the milestones will be affected. You will not meet some of the deadlines or some of the major milestones during the execution. This is something you really need to check and to be addressed. And it is important also because we are not just trying to get to the deadline, we just trying to get to every milestone to be and the specific and transparent duration correctly. So with all being said that the best way is to address the weather analysis or to address weather impact in the schedule is by conducting a weather analysis, creating a weather calendar in P6 or the scheduling tool, and add these days to these calendar to the specific activities that will be affected by the by this weather events. So conducting weather analysis. So how to do that? I'll just try to be talk about that briefly. Try not to be too long. So first thing, what we do is we check the historical weather events for the last 3 to 5 years. The longer, the better. I don't want to say like more than 5. 5 will be more than enough and will be good when you check the events for the last 5 years. How to do that? We go to specialty weather forecast websites. There are a lot of them. You have weather.com, weather.org. I, for myself, would like to use 2 websites, Weather Underground and AccuWeather.com. They are really good, easy to manage, and they have all the information you need. So how to do that? After getting the information, we go to and create a table for each year and month through the whole 5 years, and to calculate the average number of weather events. I just put a snapshot here. I'll try to show you just so quickly how to check that. It's pretty easy. This is Weather Underground, and this is AccuWeather. So let's head there, Weather Underground. So it's pretty easy. What I'm just going to talk about that very briefly. So we go to historical weather, and here, like you just mentioned, where the zip code or the city. So let's say this is Detroit, and we view that. Then we go to select monthly. Then we choose that we want to go 5 years. So we go to 2015, January, and then we show. We're going to do this exercise for every month in each year for the last 5 years. It will take roughly around an hour, maybe more a little bit, but it's worth the time you spend. So what we focus in here, we go there to the to this table. This is what we need. This is how the information we're going to need to create our table. This table has the days for all month duration, January, February till December for each year. What we focus here is we want to know the average temperature during that durations. We want to see also the average wind speed and the precipitation. So each one of those would affect the work. The high temperature, I would say here maybe it's 115. More X plus that would postpone the work because it will be extended heat. Also for the wind speed, this will affect the hauling, the structure steel work, the hauling work, for the wind. If it's been passing, I would say 20. That's based on OSHA. And again, this is also go to the crane specification. It could take more than that, but just as OSHA requirement, we say 20. And the same thing for the precipitation, always looking for myself, what I do is I look wherever it is more than ½ inch, that will affect the earthwork activities, the excavation, backfill, and all this stuff. This will be affected if we're going to have a precipitation like more than ½ inch in specific days. So these are the information we're looking at. We go to each month, we copy that to the table, and we're trying to create a table to have all this information. I would say that's after conducting all this information. So we go to this table. So I'll show you how that is an Excel sheet. So we take this information. So we get the information from the weather forecast websites. We get the every year, every month here for January 2018, 2019, 20. The same thing for February up to December. So I didn't fill this table all of it. I just want to show you how to do that. We get the information. We do some here conducting some formulas to see wherever we have that amount like the wind, the temperature, and the precipitation, the conditions that we considered as weather events. So we get the number of days that we're not going to be able to work in each month or each year. Then we get the average in these three months. That was the average in January, was the average in February, was the average in March for all these years. And then we go and create our weather calendar in P6 or the scheduling tool to account for these days. How to do that? So we go to Primavera. And I'm gonna say about Primavera here because I'm using P6 tag Primavera for this for the cause of this one. So we go to create a weather calendar, and then we go to the month like for January 2021 according to what we have in here. We ending up having an average of 1 day. In February we have 4 days. So we go and choose like specific days, whatever days, just say we're gonna have 4 days here, 1 day in January, and so on. After having all these unworking days conducting our weather calendar in P6, then we go to the specific activities in P6 and assign these calendar. So we're not gonna have only one, we're gonna have one for weather calendar for earthwork, one for the structural steel, and one for the overall, each one because for each criteria. When we add those to the activity, this is then gonna be calculated in the durations for the activities and the deadline of the project. So after doing all these activities here, we're gonna have I would say a more realistic schedule. Why it is the best way to use it? Well, for some reasons, it keeps the original duration for activities. If we compare it to the other ways we talk about, we're going to keep the original duration for each activity. We're not going to padding or adding some different unneeded durations to the project, to the activities. We're also going to build our schedule based on historical data and addressing accurate weather events. And by doing that, comparing it to the other way, we are we are making sure that we're having the weather impact during the execution cycle of the project. We're not just accepting the risk at the end and adding contingency. No, we added contingency, but it will give also more realistic deadlines or milestones during the execution cycle of the work. So for these reasons, I would say this is the best way to conduct weather analysis and add it to the schedule. This is also one of the quality measures for the project schedules that need to be conducted in the planning very early. And it is also one part of the considered to be considered in the claim analysis later on. This is a different whole topic that we can talk about this in a different time. But for now, I'm just trying to make this very briefly since we don't really have time. If there's any questions, I'm ready to answer. And Hani.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Yahya. For some reason, my mic wasn't turning on, but greatly appreciated. Yahya, you did a great job on this weather forecasting. Is this something you do during the project or just as a forensic analysis of the schedule, like after you get into claim management and you want to find out when were the weather days or put that weather calendar in your schedule?
So yeah, it is important. It is like what I'm talking about right now is during the planning, planning phase of the project of creating.
So
the
these are
project.
like future dates, because how do you get the weather for future dates?
Yep. So we get the historical data to base that
based on the historical data.
Based on the historical data, we want to get an average duration that we're gonna face in our work in the future. This also can be used and claimed like when the contractor submits a claim for some days to have extra days, we go and check. Sometimes it go really in details in each day and checking the criteria for these days, what was impacted, whether these activities are on critical path or not, these activities that is affected by the weather. Also, like if other activities can be done or just this one, and how long. So many aspects can affect the claim when we use this in the existing situation or the past, like when we pass this.
So Sam is asking, how do you hold your contractors to this? Are you embedding or incorporating these results into the contracts when you do with contracts, or just for self-performed planning?
Well, this is like, I would say it's not like it's a process of the company. So some clients would give you a list of the weather days, would say in the contract, these weather days, because they already conducted a weather analysis.
15 days.
They already
weather days, for example.
They already conducted a weather. Some companies, they already conducting weather analysis, client, and they give you the number of the days. They say each month should have this number of days as a weather, because they want also, even the client, believe me, always looking for a realistic schedule. They don't look just to give you a schedule that will meet this date. No, it really need to meet the days with the right days or right durations, and incorporate all the risk in it. For contractors, it's also based on.
I'm sorry. Can you stop your screen share?
Okay.
So I can share my screen. So thank you very much, everybody. Now is the time to discuss if you have any questions or you'd like to participate in our program as the discussion group. Let me just put some kind of announcements on the screen. I hope everyone can see my screen right now. Just a reminder, the 19th symposium is going to be on October 30th. We have a construction track for you this year. So I know that this was a very popular thing last year. Everybody was asking for it. So we got 3 speakers with 3 tracks. It's virtual, it's online this year because of the COVID-19 stuff. So make sure that you sign up for it and register for it if you haven't done that. We have a PMP exam prep course that is running on a monthly basis. That's also on a monthly basis. So make sure that if you are thinking about getting your PMP pass, to do that as soon as possible, because as Musi said, PMPIGLC 7 is coming very close, and the exam is going to change the entire system of PMPIGLC 6. 7 is totally different from the previous version, so it's going to be total different things to study for if you already studied for it and you want to take the exam. So make sure that you do that as soon as possible. We are working with USGBC Detroit. I am part of their education committee, and I'm glad to say that our next discussion panel in December is going to be on LEAD for PMPs, what we as PMP could do with LEAD, and how can we fit its methodologies into our PMBOK framework, and how we can use that in our projects. So we have a LEAD study group coming up in October. And if you're interested, please go to cqm.us. I'm going to put more information on there how to register for that class. But if you type cqm.us/study group, you should be able to get to a form that will send you more information about that. November is the month of project management and project management month. we are celebrating our community, CQM.US, getting all of us together on November 20th. Actually, Construction Quality Weeks falls a week before that. It's the second Thursday of November. So that whole week is considered a Construction Quality Week. So that's was another announcement that I wanted to give you guys and invite you for our celebration on November 20th to have another one of these sessions. And hopefully in that session, we can do a little bit of networking and mingling and more online discussions about where our industry stands and what are the trends in our industry for better quality jobs. And again, as I mentioned, this is not just for quality managers, this is for all project managers and everybody that is doing project management in one way or another, especially in the construction industry, whether architects, engineers, academics, subcontractors, suppliers, lawyers. Even we have lawyers as part of our community, and insurance companies and so forth. So our future events is going to be more into risk-based CQM and how we can avoid the different risks that cause issues and problems in our projects and how we can avoid them to make sure that we have good jobs. So if you want to turn on your videos, now is the time to participate in our discussion panel. As you do turn on your videos and audio, I'm just going to wrap up our discussion today. What we've seen, actually, I had a 15-minute presentation from Fope. She actually teaches in a university in Boston, and she did a nice presentation for me last night, and I compiled it in a video to display today, but we ran out of time. So I'm going to put it on our website, cqm.us/TV, in our YouTube channel, so you can view that in there. And what we saw is that every entity, every discipline in the industry is using somehow some kind of project control, whether it's EVM or lean construction methodology or CII, or whatever it is. And a lot of time we see that the effort of putting this thing together is multiplied, because you do this thing at subcontractor level, supplier level, and then the owner level, and then the contractor level. And using new technologies such as P6, such as BIM, can help you to reduce that amount of work by automation, by sharing that information in, especially if you're in the IPD methodology, integrated project delivery thinking. So hopefully what we can see in future is that our construction teams work closely together in order to make sure that they have their work to get aligned with each other and reduce the amount of work in waste of time and energy to produce the same information. So hopefully, as we have more of these projects and more of these discussion panels on the way, we can see more activities from our industry to improve these areas. Dr. Moylan, thank you for joining us. Like always, you're supporting our programs. Your mic is off. If you have a few words for us, we'll be glad to hear from you. And Dr. Usman was online. I don't know if he's...
I have... can you hear me, honey?
Yeah, I can hear you, but your
really
video is off.
My video, I see myself, but I don't see it. And participants, it's somehow blocked.
Oh, I asked you to turn it on. I don't know if you can see my request or not, but well, Dr. Moylan, okay, now it's working.
Okay, now okay. I'm there.
And Dr. Moylan, your audio is off. If
I'll defer to Dr. Moylan first, and then I'll make it.
I think you're still mute. Your audio is not on, Dr. Moylan. You're not mute, but we can't hear you. Probably you have to select the right microphone. No, unfortunately. Go ahead, Dr. Usman.
I'd like to really give my compliments to all the speakers. You know, this is a very good combination of fundamentals and practice. And it's, I'm so happy to see that actually what we teach in our construction management program is being implemented. And only Musi is from our program, but the other speakers certainly, I felt very much at home hearing what they were talking about, that they are actually implementing as part of their work, and that's great. I think this is good for the construction management field. It's good for the industry, so I'm very pleased. As far as Musi's work is concerned, as we indicated, it is a work in progress. But what we found out that the demographics of the respondents actually show some nuances in their responses. For instance, people who are on the younger side actually are more interested and more even into EVM than people with longer experience. And this is kind of I can't say I wasn't expecting that, but I think it's an interesting finding. And hopefully, when Musi is done, we'll make another presentation to this group.
And we need to dedicate an hour to it, so I'm sure that we need more time for that. Dr. Moylan, is your audio working now? I don't know.
Can you hear me now?
Now.
Okay, very good.
Okay, good.
Very fine. Sorry for the excuse of technical difficulty. I would say one of the overlying themes with the BIM and other pieces, people using the different tools, would be integrated project delivery. I think that would be a good thing to bring both the owner, the designer, the constructors, how it all kind of blends together from the beginning. It involves a lot more planning. That might be a good future topic for you to consider.
That's a good point. Okay.
I second Dr. Moylan's, Bill's comment. It absolutely would be.
Good. I see Haytham. He's one of our supporters, and he has been in our programs before. You used my link because I gave the CQM.Zoom link, and the people that used my link have my name on their video. So next time, please rename yourself so we know you're here. Go ahead, Haytham. Do you have anything for us?
Thank you, Hani. Thanks, everyone. Everybody did a very good job today. It's interesting to hear the different opinions from owner side, contractor, general contractor, subcontractors, and academia too. I teach at LTU too, and I see a lot of students still to date and practice and construction too, and I see the variation here. Very interesting, and I'm very interested to hear more about everybody. I know a couple of presenters too, been my, work with and or been my students before. I totally agree with Dr. Moylan about different project delivery methods and the impact or participation from all stakeholders on each project delivery, how they their impact or their participation in the collaboration side of each project delivery, started from design, bid, build through everything design, build, and CM, and go to IPD nowadays. That'll be very interesting to see everybody's input on that in collaboration with all the above, from quality, schedule, scope, and
that's actually a good point, Haytham, is that if anybody has any particular interest in a field or any topic that they wish to see that we discuss it in future, make sure that you send that information to us. We're going to have a survey form created after the meeting and sent out to our participants to give us some kind of feedback of what they thought about the program and if they wanted to see some kind of improvement or change in our program to participate and do that. So, Emra, do you have any comments? Emra is from Wayne State, and he has a nice background of Wayne State behind him. So, but Emra, you're on mute. You got to unmute yourself.
We are always worried. That's what I was saying. It was a great presentation. Thank you all presenters. It was great, and especially this weather integration to schedules. This is a change I have done. Interesting subject, and I would love to see other additional topics compared additional to this EVM subject in the future. I look forward to attending those events. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Anybody have any questions or any discussion that they want to make for this topic? And
if I may, I would like to ask one thing about this weather equation. For example, weather condition for future is being integrated into schedules, and it is a little pessimistic saying that what will be the worst weather and how it's going to delay the project, and it's integrated. What if it doesn't turn out to be that bad and still weather is how it is corrected in the scheduling concept?
Well, this is like a planned response. So risk response, we have it for like weather impact that could impact the schedule. If it didn't happen, this is like it's going to be extra days or extra float that was approved by the client at the beginning when you submit the schedule. If it happened and it's happened, you have it already. If it's past that duration, then this is something that you need to submit and get for it like a change order to get them, because it's at the end it affected your work and it's not in your hand. So but the reason we're trying to have a transparent schedule as much as possible with the realistic durations. That's what is really important, because you as a contractor or subcontractor, you're not working just to get the deadlines. You're working also against your reputation. You want to get like a really good reputation to having like achieving your deadlines and giving accurate dates and deadlines in your schedule.
Sure.
So many things get into that point. Not always they accept it, not always they get it right time, but at least this is the best way to do it in the beginning.
Because
it's like a contingency plan. So you if you don't use it, you can maybe use it in other ways. I mean, maybe it's not weather delay; it's some other delays that you can.
I was going to say that does the owner usually allows that float to be used for other purposes, or do they share the savings because of that float with the contractor? Because at the end of the project, usually it is a discussion point between the owner and the contractor who is going to benefit from that savings. And the second thing is, I ask you because this global warming, the weather cannot be even predicted, and the historical data that you are referring to for integrating schedule may not even predict global warming. So that's why it's interesting from that point.
I would, Hani, if you don't mind, I would add something or comment on this very interesting topic. We should make a difference between force majeure and the weather. There is sometimes the weather turn to force majeure, and this is out of the control. But for the weather, comment on the question about how it's not happened. How if it's the weather was good, going good, and then we have extra days and a flood. For me and the DTE in my program at least, which is the gas renewal program, we use that extra days to pull ahead something. For example, this year we put like with the contractor, we put to make a 200 mile for Southeast Michigan, and then we find like we're gonna finish early because the contractor make a lot of job and they do a good job and they add more crews. Then what we do, we pull ahead from the next year plan. We already planned for the next year. Like we started in plan 21 since March. So right now we're gonna have a 2 months extra 2 months in November and December. So what we did, we asked the contractor to give us a construction schedule for something from 21. For example, if the 21 we're gonna go to Ann Arbor, for example, hey, we ask him officially to give us a schedule or plan for 21, but it's going to be implemented in 20 for different grid, for Ann Arbor or for Ypsilanti, for example. That's how we utilize. In addition, there is in DTE, we utilize a scorecard for the contractor. We call it BEI. So this is scorecard. What it does, it's evaluate how many activities you finish per month, or how many activity you finish. Like let's say if you have 1,000 activity and how much you done, like as a percentage from this for this month. If you've done more than the average, or we set up a metric for how many you should do based on the productivity. we give him a credit, as we call score credit, and this is going to be bonus. Either a bonus is different and vary in DT. I'm not going to disclose things, but there is a bonus behind finishing early. Beside, you get more job to implement it and pull ahead something from next year, and you saving money. You keep your people busy, because if you don't have nothing to do, then your people will go on. So, but when you finish early, we're gonna promise you get more to be pull ahead from next year, and everybody will be in the right situation. That's one example about how we manage it. At least in the GRP, facility may be different, but there is always a scorecard, always BI, always bonus.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I see Ravi in the meeting. Ravi always has something to say in the ESD meetings. Ravi, do you want to say something in our meeting? Your mic is off. Your microphone is off. You gotta unmute your mic.
Okay, you can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
So, yeah, I'm quite pleased with the presentations, and I was happy to hear, not happy, but surprised to hear that the 7 would have something different in the EVM space. So
I've heard about this new thing that Musi was talking about, using time with time instead of cost with time. But I wasn't sure if it's going to be applied to the entire project or just the end of it. And
he seemed to say it was the entire project. He seemed to say, although the issues crop up at the end because of this, but he seemed to say it's for the whole period. Your question was appropriate.
That was news to me too.
Thank you.
It was very interesting.
Well, it's good. A lot of varied things here. I mean, you had weather, you had this. Oh, weather, do the clients pay for the weather caused delays or schedules or not?
Depends on the contract. Like the contract that we have, the owner has 15 days for us that we can use. I mean, they ask us to put 15 days for weather delays. And what Hussam was saying right now was, if we can keep the 15 days for us, because to this date, we've been doing this project for 360 days so far. We haven't had a day of delay for weather. So if we can keep it that way, maybe they'll give us the 15 days.
Yeah, Michigan is not bad weather-wise, but he said he's in Fort Worth and doing projects there. I mean, Texas is bad from what I hear.
Well, Neil and Roberta, if you guys have anything to say, this is a chance. Your mics are off. And Neil, you want to say something? We can't hear you from your phone, but Roberta, can you try? Okay. Now we can hear one of you guys. I don't know which was.
Okay, now you might be able to hear me, right?
Okay. Yep. We got you, Neil.
Well, all I can say is that took a tremendous amount of effort to organize all of this, and thank you so much, each and every one of you. And here's wishing you within tolerance variances, regardless of the weather.
Thank you. And usually when we have our dinner meetings at PMIGLC, hopefully after the Corona, when Corona is over, this is how we do our meetings. We have like an hour or two of discussions and topics that we discuss as project managers. And then after that, we stay even longer to talk to each other and collaborate and do network. So this is great to see. We got 40 attendees that are and participants that are still in the meeting. So that's very nice and very good of you. I wish everybody would have turned their videos on and we could see your faces. But I guess next time when you join us for December, make sure that you're prepared. You got nice background or something behind you, and you can. You got a nice background, Neil. Don't worry about it. But you're comfortable to turn on your video. That's what I meant. But again, that's the purpose of our meetings here, is to collaborate and share information and try to. Oh, that's Bhakti. Hi, Bhakti. we can't hear you, but we can see you. Okay. Actually just changed from Wallbridge to O'Brien, so I know that she moved to O'Brien recently. So she's a PMP as well. So she's one of our supporters. Well, we're getting close to 7 o'clock. So if nobody else has, Arian, she's on. Thank you very much for turning on your videos. And if you have any comments you want to add or share, we'd love to hear your voice.
I would say thank you, Hani, for gathering us in this nice conference. Really interested, really enjoyed it. And I've seen some people that I don't know, which is my honor and pleasure to know them and see them. And I've seen some people that I love to see them. I've seen Dr. Haytham. I've seen Yaya Janabi. He's my colleague in DTE. And Dr. Atman, I didn't see him since a long time ago. I met him in 2000. I think 15. I was applying to the master program in Wayne State, but for some reason I moved and get busy with the work, and I didn't join the program. And then I joined the program with Lawrence Tech, and Dr. Haytham Sarsam was one of my instructor. So it's really, really interested, and thank you so much for this great effort.
Well, all of you are graduates through these different programs. Appear to have done very well. So,
thank you so much.
You know, we have Lawrence Tech, Western Michigan, and so on. So it's good. And even Arlington, Texas, Arlington. It's a university, or urban university like Wayne State, and it's a good one. You know that.
Yeah, DT is a good sponsor for PMI.
They are.
GLC, Great Lakes, yeah.
Yeah, and Barton Mello also is one of our biggest fans and supporters. I was hoping to have a few more people from Barton Mello, especially Anthony and Ryan and the people that I work with. So, but probably something happened with the scheduling. They couldn't make it to the meeting. But I know that they were supporting the discussions, and we were preparing actually since 3 months ago for this event. So like I said, these events are quarterly. So we are working on our next event actually a month ago. The lead program is going to be very interesting. We're going to have people from Clark Construction and Barton Mello. So if you know of any projects, lead certified projects that would like to be participant in our next event, I think you guys are going to enjoy it very much. And so it's going to be very exciting. Well, don't forget to visit our site, cqm.us, and also LinkedIn is my communication channel with everyone. So if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, don't make sure that you connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can collaborate more over there. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you guys soon.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.